Okay, pool players, I wanted to make a video on, I just put a new tip on my player cue and just talk about some thoughts and some facts and whatnot. So first of all, anybody who's followed me knew that I had left this game completely like 32 years ago from a high level of play. And I still have my it's probably 33, 34-year-old LaPro tip on my spare shaft for my player cue. And ironically, I'm absolutely amazed that it's not hard as a rock and it actually plays well. And I'm not afraid to use that as my backup if something happens to my player cue. My player cue, when I started back 18 months ago, still had the LaPro on it, and it was getting worn down. And this shaft plays harder because it's got a synthetic ferrule on it, where I've got an ivory ferrule on my spare club that plays, or club shaft that plays softer to begin with. And so I thought I'd try something new, and I went to the Kamui medium, and I liked it. It played a little spinny in the beginning, and as it got worn down, I think I wore it down in like a year. I played it in a big tournament last month. I didn't want to change it. It was down to the bone, and I knew I had been miscuing a little bit with it, but I didn't want to swap out to a new tip and try to get used to it within, a week or two. And so I actually just then put a new tip, and I went to the Kamui Brown Soft this time, just to maybe get a little bit more feel. I think the blacks, the Kamui blacks, play a little softer than the browns do to begin with. So I also noticed that a lot of the touring pros these days are using softer tips in general, and there's like a chart out there that you can look at, and they give a rating to all the tips. The Pro, I think, played it like a 76, and the Kamui Brown Soft plays like a 69 or 68. And then the super softs are down into the low 60s and 50s, and then the hard ones are in the 90s. And the phenolic tip, which I actually went to because I had a LaPro on my jumper cue, break and jump cue, I went to the bulletproof clear. I'll zoom in and give you a shot on these soon. But the other point that I wanted to make too is when I put on this other tip this time, the first time I used this little, I don't know, these little grinders, and this one kind of over grinds it like almost more than a dime shape. So even more curvature. And the last time that I had put the tip on, I noticed that it was really spinny and got some good bite on the cue ball. And then when I went to this one and put it on, I didn't use this, and I kind of used some sandpaper on it and just kind of guesstimated. Well, I played with it for a couple days, 3-4 days, whatever, and I noticed that I was like, it had a weird feel to it, like, but I know that it was authentic tip because it had the serial number and it was a Kamui dealer and whatnot. So I knew that the tip was real. But what I found out though is that it's because it was so new, it started to mushroom for one and flatten out. And so when I looked at it, it had the shape of more like almost a 50-cent piece on it. And you just can't get low on the cue ball to be able to draw the ball that good. And that brings up another thing too, is that people talk about the softness of a tip and the hardness of a tip. Like my phenolic tip, it's hard to draw the ball. I could do it, and I got a couple videos where I did it. But compared to a soft leather cue like those Elk Masters that they used to have in the old pool halls back in the day, I would go to different pool halls, and I played many different tournaments on 9-foot tables, a lot of different places, and I could go to one place and draw the shit out of the ball and go to another place and not draw so well. And it's not that my stroke changed, it was because the equipment and the conditions. If you have like this red dot ball is all cleaned up and shined up, and I can juice the shit out of this thing. This one's a little heavier and dirty, and I can't spin it as well. Same stroke. So the equipment does make a difference, and also the roundness of the tip. I like to start with a good dime and then break it in, and I notice that I can get lower on the cue ball. It also makes a difference what size shaft you have. I noticed that these days the jumper cues are coming out with 14 millimeter jump tips. Ferrules, whatever they're called now, because they don't even really have a ferrule on them anymore. My breaker jump is a 13, and my player cues I think are 12 and a half, but I've never had them checked. But that's my guesstimate. I feel like I get a little smaller than that. It's too small, and I feel like if I play with a 13, I feel like it's a lot more accurate, but I can't spin the ball as much, and it feels fat in my fingers. Everybody's going to have their own preference. But again, the equipment that you're playing makes a big difference when spinning the ball. And a lot of people say that, you know, and in my opinion, the softer tip is going to get you a little more action on the ball, and the smaller the tip, meaning the smaller millimeter, is going to get you more action on the tip. But you're going to lose accuracy the smaller you go. And that's why the jump cues and stuff are bigger. The other thing that I want to tell you too is that I don't have much roundness on my breaker jump cue, and the reason behind that is a flatter tip is easier to control when you're breaking, and it's not really needed because I'm not playing and using English and spinning the ball a lot. But again, the equipment makes a difference. So I did reshape this tip, and man, I can spin the shit out of the ball so much easier now. It just feels like it's almost like butter. And so that made a big difference on the curvature of the tip. And I think I mentioned, I put my own tips on myself. I've been doing that. Well, I always did it since I was young, and I still do it. So right here, I don't know, I got my glasses on. I think this could focus in. So this first one here, I have that old red fiber pad on there. That's my ferrule tip on my, the ivory tip on my backup shaft. Then the next one in here is my player cue, and that's the Kamui Brown Soft Clear. And I just installed that like 4 days ago, and I reshaped that, and you can see how that's got some good curvature to it there. And then my brake cue, you can see how it's a lot flatter, especially I just have the edges rounded a little bit for jumping, but the tip of it is more on the flat side. And so you get a lot more accuracy that way. So anyways, I'm really surprised that this old LaPro, 35 years old, harder, that's considered a more medium harder tip, plays as soft as it does with that being that old, and with that ivory ferrule and that fiber pad helped a little bit. I think I may have had just a little bit of that ferrule pad still in there, the red. I don't remember if I completely removed it this time I did it, but the last tip, the Kamui Brown that I had on there, I completely wore it out in probably, I don't know, it probably was like a maybe 1,200 hours of play. Maybe like 10, 12 months. It was less than a year. But getting used to this phenolic hard rock tip, oh my goodness. Damn, I had to get used to the sound and the feel. It was like hitting metal. And I'm used to it now. And another thing I started to do, I'd never been a big jumper. I used to jump really good back in the day, is I started practicing my jumping now. And it's unbelievable how much easier it is to jump with a hard tip than that old LaPro that I had on there. So that's been fun. I've been doing the dart stroke. I've been doing the sidearm one. I've been doing the up one. And I've been doing a full cue jump, even with my X5 5-inch extension in here. And I put that in there. So I got a little bit more reach for one, but when I break my jumper down, I got another 5 inches, so I'm like 45 and a half on my jump cue, and the longer that jump cue is, a little bit more accuracy I get. And I actually like to jump with my full cue because that's when I'm most accurate. But again, the longer the cue and the more the weight, the longer the jump is. You can't jump balls really close unless you're doing like a sidearm jump here and you're really coming down on it, or you're doing a dart jump. And then it's been kind of fun experimenting and finding out what works best for me now with this new technology. But I've never really been a big jumper. I've been a kicker, and now that I've been hitting this game hard for the last 18 months, I thought it's time for me to start doing some jumping, because that can get you out of some bad spots at times. And there's been a few games where if I would have just jumped on an easy jump shot, I could have got out instead of kicking and trying to kick safe or whatnot. So that's been kind of cool. But if you have any questions about tips or whatever, but being shaped and more rounded is going to allow you to go lower on this cue, and that's what's needed for that extreme draw. And then again, conditions, and then also its timing and its experience and its feel, and it's a loose hand. You don't want to grip tight. There's plenty of videos out there on instructions how to do that, but just to tap on that point. So I think I covered everything I wanted to do. If you have any questions or anything, just put it in the comments and I'll get back to you. And I haven't experienced with any other tips. This is my first phenolic tip that I put on about 6 months ago. Totally used to it now. And what a great technology change. I don't even know what happened over the last 32 years, but I was amazed at what all happened in the industry. The graphite shafts, I think the graphite shafts are one of the reasons that more of the tour pros are playing with softer tips in general, is because of the graphite shafts, is in my opinion. Because back in the day, 35 plus years ago, we were all hitting the Pros and harder tips. A few people were using those Elk Masters, but you could spin the shit out of those things, but the consistency was tough. I used to like to pick up those old things off of the pool hall rack, and a house one-piece cue with a blue Elk Master on it, and just spin the freaking living shit out of the ball. And it was so much fun, but I started to get sloppy, and you lose your consistency when the tip is too soft. And this Kamui Brown Soft, in my opinion, hardens up kind of towards like a Le Pro after about 4 months or so. And then I just kind of had to reshape it and stuff. But when they're new, you got to kind of stay on top of them. But it was kind of funny that I missed that, and I knew that something was wrong in the feel, and the spin wasn't like it should be for my stroke. And that's what it was, is the shape just in several days had flattened and mushroomed, and I wasn't really paying attention, but I just caught that and just did this yesterday. So I want to make a video on it. So anyways, till next time, guys. See ya.